skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just $49 at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera. I'm switching.
That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only $49. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Hey, welcome, my friends. We are live right here on Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, and performance enhancement expert and author, Sean Douglas. I'm with my friend, Adam Lewis Walker. What's up, my friend?
How you doing? Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm glad we managed to, I managed to overcome the technical to get on here. So yeah, excited to share. I was actually is there any way I can share this out across? Because I know it's live. Is there any way I can share this? What's the, obviously.
I got the team working on that right now. Dude, I am pumped to have you on the show, man, because I've been following your show. I've been following you, and you are just an incredible individual, and I love what you have going on, man. Absolutely love what you have going on. So I am a huge, huge fan, and it is a 100% honor to have you on my show, man.
Wow. Thank you so much. Blimey, what can I say to that? I mean, yeah, I'm just very, very, very grateful for the kind words. Yeah, you never know. I do a lot of interviews where the person's like, "Who are you?" And but no, it's nice to know you're the guy. You're the guy who's listened to my stuff or watched some of it. Brilliant.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I know your story. I know. You had the book coming up. I know you had, I follow you. You know what I mean? Like, I have a bunch of influencers that I follow, and you just embody what it means to be resilient. So I'm in the resilience game. So that's why I follow you, my friend.
Wow, brilliant! I'd say thanks for having me on. This is that's awesome. No, I really appreciate that, and I just want to just come on and, live up to that and deliver some value and, just get involved. This is awesome. Thanks. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Heck yeah.
Brilliant to be here.
Awesome, man. So this show is heard in over 63 countries, such as the U.S., Canada, Australia, UK, Brazil, Costa Rica, Mexico. So I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformations. Here is where we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. We highlight that transformational moment that has changed our lives and how we use this to help transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live right here on Blog Talk Radio at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday through Friday. You can join our Facebook community, Life Transformation Radio community. You can also subscribe, rate, and review the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn, Player FM, and the Google Play Music app. On the show are entrepreneurs and speakers, business owners, coaches, other podcasters, and authors who have amazing things going on in their life but are impacting the world around them in a unique way. And my guest today does just that. If you have any questions for any of the guests that I ever bring on the show during our live broadcast at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, you can call in at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. So this episode is titled, based off of your show, Awaken Your Alpha with Adam Lewis Walker.
Awesome.
So
sounds good to me. Sounds good.
let's learn more about you, man. So here we go. Now, dude, I can't wait for everybody to I'm just pumped right now, dude. You don't even know. I'm like geeking out right now.
I'm loving this show already, and I'm loving this show. Is there any way I can share this out or anything like that, or you guys handle that?
Yeah, I'm being told it's almost done. Okay, so Adam Lewis
I won't mention it. Just let me know.
Is a lifestyle entrepreneur, a high-performance coach, and keynote speaker. He is also the host of the top-ranked podcast, Awaken Your Alpha, interviewing the world's elite in over 300 episodes since 2014. A former teacher and international pole vaulter, Adam was attempting to reach the Olympics in 2008 when his career was cut short by a freak accident. During the following 2 years on crutches, trying to cope with the realization he would never compete again, Adam hit rock bottom. He had to rebuild his dreams and identity, eventually fighting back to represent Great Britain in a Paralympic sport and refocusing to help others achieve regardless of their obstacles. In 2013, Adam co-authored The New Rules of Success, sharing his no-nonsense approach to health, family, and leadership. The success of this best-selling book led to the creation of Awaken Your Alpha and Adam's quest to share inspirational stories, strategies, and insights to becoming the leader in your life. As a coach and mentor, he works to cultivate the mindset needed for excellence and fulfillment with an alliance supporting action, accountability, and adjustments to enhance legacy. As a keynote speaker, Adam gave the TEDx talk, Awaken Your Alpha, which was incredible. How to rise up, and has been featured in the Huffington Post, ESPN, PodFest, Influencers Radio, and many other media outlets. He is a proud parent to Dylan and Harrison with his wife, Christina. Originally from West Sussex in the south of England, Adam recently achieved a lifelong dream to move his family to the United States. In the show notes, right here is the link to the book, www.aya, so Awaken Your Alpha, ayalpha.com/book, and find him on social media. All of the social medias are all the same, at Awaken Your Alpha. So, man, after all that, the first question I have to ask is why? Why do what you do? Like, why be a speaker? Why has this been, why has your life just turned out the way it has? What do you think?
Well, firstly, I just want to say thank you so much for that big intro and long intro. But I think, if everyone managed to sit through that, at least it covers a lot so we can really get into some deep stuff to add value to the audience, because that is it. You summed it up. I feel like I could leave now in terms of my story, which is brilliant, because now we can get into helping and adding some value here. So my true why, recently, I could probably go into more depth, but recently, I've got two boys, as you mentioned now. I am obsessed. So I'm really very apparent in going through this book writing process and and doing the podcast for 4 years. There really feels like legacy in terms of touch wood, hopefully, but you never know when, the day is your last, as it were. And I do have an urgency, and I do have an awareness of, mine and others' mortality. And I think we all need that awareness, because sometimes I feel like people just get lulled into that false sense of security that we're all going to, die in some far off time when I have in my head, 80 something, always just, everyone kind of goes like, yeah, 80, I've got some time. But, I know everyone's had some experience, if not very close, that they know of, that someone was taken far too soon. And I just got an urgency, and also I plan to teach my boys these things daily, being here in person as I am, but plans, and this is the whole point of the book, plans achieve nothing. It's actions and what you're actually going to do. And you can only do that on a daily basis, which is today, because we don't know about tomorrow.
I love it. Yep, 100%, man. You never know what's coming tomorrow. Perfect. Yep. So take us back into that story, man, because this show is all about your transformation. So take us a little bit further back, and former teacher and international pole vaulter. So talk about those beginnings. Like, what did you teach? How did you get into it? And how did you get into pole vaulting? Why that particular sport?
Well, yeah. So completely honestly, I always feel like I've had a pretty level head when it comes to lifestyle, and that's why I think you might even say lifestyle, because in terms of what I aspired to when I was younger, and again, I had some money issues, so I didn't aspire to things that maybe historically paid very well, and I aspired to things that I was like, oh, you get to wear shorts all year, and you get to play sports all year, and get outside, and I love sports. So a teacher, and you get the entire summer off. So straight away, I was like, I like the look of this. So my teachers, like a lot of people, were very influential to me, and my favorite teachers were my art teachers, my PE teachers, and yeah, they just were active, happy, and they got the summers off. So I was like, I'm sold. So that's kind of why I went down that route, as either graphic designer or PE teacher, and in terms of I was so much into my sport, it was actually my PE teacher who discovered my brother first, and then me, in terms of not many people pole vault, but people who are quite good at gymnastics. He could see the crossover. Mm-hmm. My brother broke all the school records before me, and I was about 3 years behind him, and I broke all his school records that he had set from like 20 years in terms of he broke them, and then about a year or two later I broke them. So that was kind of the.
Is this all in England? Like this is all in England?
Oh, well, this is just our school record. But and I placed third. I got a bronze medal as like a schoolboy in the English Schools Championships. And I was obsessed with basketball. And then I kind of went deeper into the pole vault side of things. And I was obsessed by the Olympics in any shape or form, as you can kind of hear from the stories of what inspired me at that age in terms of sports and different things. And so the thought of getting as vague as getting to the Olympics in any event, generally any event, was a dream of mine. And I got all the way till I was 28, and I know in the introduction you kind of covered it, so I can just sort of skim over it as well. Yep. Really my peak in the pole vault was 2008. I come back from, tore my groin at 21, so it took a good few years to come back. As my best, I was vaulting my first personal best or record in 7 years, and I was just getting back to the sort of standard and that I knew I could do. And then that's when it all went wrong on the pole vault side of things, and it was clear I was not going to pole vault again, let alone get to the Olympics in something like that. So I switched gears. Again, this is glossing over it a little bit, but I had a bit of a tough time mentally in terms of when my career was cut short by this sort of accident, and a lot of my identity, is talking about my young years, was tied up in my physicality and being a pole vaulter. So I was very much lost when that happened, and it didn't go smooth for a good 2-3 years after that, and I kind of hit rock bottom in that period when I was on crutches, and just seemed like endless rehab before operations, and then rehab after operations, and then back to square one, and it just slowly chipped away at me until I was not in a good place, and then it just was a case of slowly clawing my way back. It wasn't particularly pretty, but it's the kind of continual improvement that I strive to now, even though I'm not struggling in that kind of down the other end of the spectrum, as it were.
Awesome. So do you want to talk about like what that freak accident was? Do you want to?
Yeah, I don't mind. This is obviously your show. Wherever you think there's value to the listeners and what you're curious about. But in terms of that accident, sounds obvious looking back now. Don't combine pole vaulting with rain. It was the English summertime, and so it was rain, obviously. Yep. And horizontal rain, and it was flooded run up. They could have put the pole vault indoors, but I think they had pressure from. It was the biggest competition I'd ever been in. The stand and the spectators were all outside, and they said, we're going to carry on outside, and we as a group of pole vaulters said, someone's going to get injured. It's not if, it's who. And then it was kind of a question of who wanted it most. I really wanted it, and so I was doing quite well. I was in 4th place, so needed one more height to get a medal. There's only 4 of us left, and I just put too much on the line, lost perspective, and I could tell it wasn't right on the approach, and I overrode that and tried to go for it, and I slipped on takeoff, tore my ACL, dislocated my knee, tore the meniscus cartilage off my bone end, and bruised the bone ends, and I'd never had any knee problems. So it's like from a good knee to a ruined knee that you could never pole vault with again.
Oh my
in
gosh.
one swoop. Eventually, after the multiple operations, they tried to repair the cartilage, and the surgeon said it was like trying to sew wet spaghetti together. And eventually that to take out the majority of my cartilage. So I do have issues with my knee now, no matter how strong I get the muscles around it, because cartilage,
Right.
you know, it's like running your car without any tires on it. It's just grinding and metal. Oh, well, or bone, I should say.
Right.
So I mean, to look at me, I can do a lot of things. I can run around. Just usually my knee hurts a lot afterwards. And I do what I can. I do things I probably shouldn't, but there's a fun aspect. I love playing basketball, for example, and that's not a good thing for my knee.
Oh man. So wow, that's crazy. I was literally gonna ask, before you said like the metal on the metal, like you have to put tires, I was like, well, why can't you? I mean, because I realize you're running, but
yeah,
because the pole vaulting is, I mean, you use your legs to get going, but then it's just momentum that carries you after that. But it's the running that really you need sprinting, right?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. It's like I can sprint. That's not a massive issue for me. It's straight line stuff, perfect. It's the problem is it's my takeoff leg, and it's the actual point of impact when you think of the long jump run up. If you're a good pole vaulter, the run up to the pole vault and the long jump is identical. One, you've just got a pole in your hands, and if you can mentally overcome, because people obviously approach it differently because it's quite scary. If you could do the same kind of jump approach and jump off as a run up for a long jump as you do for pole vault, that's the ideal scenario. Imagine running, doing your biggest jump, trying to jump into that as hard as you can whilst carrying a pole and then bending it, and the impact on takeoff on your ankle, knee, all of that is kind of one of the things for pole vault. If you've got a slight niggle, it's very hard to pole vault with it because, other sports, like say I was doing American football or basketball, you can play with a little bit of, a lot of times you do have slight injuries and things, and you can not hide, but you've got teammates as well, and you can, compensate for it in other ways. The thing with pole vault is it's like a lot of track and field athletics, it's a very, run as fast as you can, jump as high as you can, throw as far as you can. It's a very individual. There's nowhere to hide, and it's and you've got to be at that peak level to do anything. Right. And also the flip side of that is it's not just the pole vault. And if I was training, I'd be doing repeated takeoffs on my knee. And then bear in mind, this is if you get it right. You don't get it right a lot of times, and so that is horrible. When I tried to take off too close, you stamp your heel down, and the forces going through there are, it makes me shudder now with the way my knee is, and also the plyometric training that you have to do to be in decent shape to do that. Plyometrics is very damaging on your body anyway if you're healthy. If you've got any kind of injury, it's just not sustainable. So technically, I could pole vault. I would just be useless. And I would just
feel like grueling pain.
Yeah, and also I would just be, it's a very, pole vault is a very confidence-based thing. You've got to really go for it. You can't, I'm going to try it. Because once you commit to a certain hand grip and a certain size of pole, once you're running down, you can't kind of scale it back, because if you take off with, a pole you need to be going 100% on, and you take off at 90% or 80%, you're not going to make it up there, and you will land on the ground. And there's cases of people landing on their head, dying. You see there's some prominent Americans who wear crash helmets when they pole vault, so... Yeah, so it's one of them things. You can't, I suppose it's a good metaphor for life. You can't, or you shouldn't, play half-assed. You should either do it, go all in, or not do it, make your mind up.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, there's quite a few hockey players that I know that have, they have knee injuries. Like I have a knee injury from hockey and being in the military. So, I mean, I'm sure I'll need a knee replacement soon, because it just... Like we in 2014, we walked around Disney World all day, and my knee on one side was swollen over the knee that was like regular. Like it's side by side.
Yeah.
It's side by side. and one knee is definitely bigger than the other. You know?
No. I mean, it's nice when you're symmetrical. I think it's even if even you might have a particular strong knee, but if at least with symmetry, it is what you are. It is what it is, and you are what you are. But when you're lopsided, as an athlete and anything, you notice it. Like you're saying, you can notice the difference in your knees, and I think it's sometimes the attitude people have to your problems or what you may be struggling with or what you're doing well with. They see it from their point of view as opposed to your point of view. So yeah, you might hear someone may listen into this and think, can we stop talking about his knee? I've had worse. He's not dead. And I get that, but my issue is, and this is the thing I struggle with, because I felt these things which didn't help me not become depressed after my accident, because I felt I had no right to be feeling like crap, which made me feel worse, because I'm like, I am still here. It is only my knee. But it promised it had a huge impact on my life and lifestyle. So if anyone listens to this and you feel similar sort of thoughts about whatever is your adversity at the moment, don't beat yourself up, because if that's the worst thing that's ever happened to you, that's the worst thing that's ever happened to you. And that's a huge variation for all different people. If you've had a very smooth life so far and something not that minor to someone else happens to you, it's the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Just that's what it is. And the other thing is, you've had a very tough life, and something like this knee happens to you, you'd be like, I've been through worse. And that's the beauty of perspective. And also, we all have adversity, and it's nice to say it with time, but it does help you in the long run. Unfortunate reality at the time, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. So don't go looking for these adversities, but they're coming for all of us. So you can prepare mentally before. Before is the key, not during. Right.
Absolutely. So after you're hitting rock bottom, I'm assuming you sound pretty passionate about what you were doing, and it was a lot of fun. So how did you rebuild? So if someone right now was listening, and it could be anything. I mean, if it was a sports injury, you're out of football. You see it all the time, right? You're out of basketball, baseball, football, hockey, whatever, right? It could be anything. It could be a relationship. It could be, how do you rebuild? Like, how do you come back from that? People, that's their identity, right? I mean, that's like you identified as, I'm this Olympic pole vaulter. It'd be like Michael Phelps not being the swimmer that he is. Or like any of the NFL players, playing American football, those guys, having multiple knee replacements. Oh, I'm done. Broken neck, whatever, I'm done. Like they lose their identity. So what's your advice to them?
So I mean, and again, full transparency even. I didn't deal with it very well. That's kind of the point.
Okay. Okay, you still there? Hello, Adam, you still there? Oh, there he is. Nope, I think he dropped off. Adam, you still there? All right, well, while we get Adam back on the line, we were talking about how you rebuild through adversity. How do you bounce back while going through, like you're in that deep, hard place, right? You're in that hard place, and how do you rebuild? How do you get another identity? How do you fight back? And so I know for me, when I was in my deep place, and if you had to term it, right, it would be like the dark moment of the soul, like the dark side of the soul is where you are. And when you're in that place, there's people around you that are helping. There's people around you that are bringing you back. But really, it could be as easy as you finding another passion, finding another purpose. It could be finding, another hobby, whatever. But really, it's finding a way to still do what you love. Like, I know a lot of people who are coaches of the sport that they love because they have a sports-related injury. They can't play anymore, but they coach the teams. So it's like I'm there, but I'm not there. So how do you bounce back? How do you become more resilient? And how you become more resilient is by mastering your meaning and by having a level of gratitude for the situation that's happening. Like, yes, this is happening, accepting it, but then moving forward in the way that that best suits you. So for me, it was unlocked when I became a drill instructor. It was unlocked. I didn't know that I'd be a good speaker. I didn't know that I would have a love of professional speaking and even this podcast. I didn't know that I would be doing it, but I am. And it's an evolution of things. Like, everything that's happening is preparing you for where you're going to. Everything that is happening to you at this moment, you are where you are meant to be at this moment in time. No matter what the situation is, you are where you are meant to be. And so as we go to rebuild, I had to find ways that it just made sense that I would move in this direction. So, Adam, welcome back. And I was just talking about ways to bounce back, or why you should bounce back, how to become more resilient, and I was just talking about my own adversity. I went through a suicidal phase where I was attempting to take my life, and it was, what do I got to do? Like, I never knew I would be good at speaking and being a keynote speaker, and I never knew that I would deliver a TEDx talk. I never knew that I would have this show. I didn't know. So our life is maybe that's why I'm so gravitated towards you, because we've done the TEDx talk. We have the show. Like, our life is going kind of in a parallel form, albeit different vehicles, but, we're headed in that same direction.
Yeah, no.
So how did you bounce back?
I definitely get it. Yeah. And just to touch on the suicide thing, again, I don't think it's through any efforts on myself. Everyone's obviously very different, unique, etc. But I'm just so glad that thought never, because I didn't feel like I could get any lower. But that thought never popped into my head, and I know it does for a lot of people when they get down that low. And male suicide rates in England, for example, is 3-to-1 to women. So because we don't talk about this stuff enough, and there's a whole load of other reasons, I'm sure. But I mean, that's a clear one. And that's, when we talk about awakening your alpha, that silent lone wolf type that doesn't need any help, that can handle it all himself.
Right.
I think is kind of the history of the alpha doesn't rub with me.
Right.
It's not good, and I think that kind of attitude is one of the reasons why there are more male suicides. So yeah, in terms of overcoming depression and getting back from it, and there's a lot of, and in the book I have a specific chapter about this, and it could have quite easily been left out of the book, because the nature of, I like to focus on, like anything, where your energy, where your focus goes, that's where your energy flows. So I don't, in some ways, like to talk about this too much, but that's the part of the issue. So I made sure I put it in there, whether I want to talk about it or not, because out of all the interviews I've done recently, I've only got really one key piece of feedback, and it was someone who messaged me in the middle of the night, like 2:30 in the morning. I woke up and I saw this message. And it was, it was really from the heart, and it was literally, out of all the different things I may have rambled on and said over the last couple of weeks, that was what he picked up, and it was one specific thing I said in this kind of scenario, and that's what they heard, and that's what they needed to hear, and it made a huge difference, and obviously it kind of confirmed that I'm on the right path in terms of, I'm putting this in the book because I think it would have been dishonest or inauthentic to kind of skim over this area, which is a real pitfall for everyone, and it can come and bite you up in the butt if you're not paying attention. Because the issue is, pretty quite rare that it comes on instantly. I know you can have very traumatic things happen to you instantly, but it's usually you'll be in some kind of shock. And I can only talk from my experiences and from interviewing many men and many people about this. For me, the bad thing happened, as it were, and a few other things linked to that, but it was really about a year after that I hit rock bottom, because I was clear to see I was in shock and ultimately in denial for a long time. And it's only when I admitted I'm not okay, like really not okay, and stopped putting a mask on it, because no one knew, as it happens with a lot of people, no one knew, apart from very, very close family, that I was not right. So in terms of how do you get out of this, I think you've got to admit it firstly. You cannot start coming out of it until you've kind of got as low as you're going to go. But part of that is acknowledging that either you are depressed or you're not happy or whatever it is. You know, the simple marker for me is if there's more days that you're deeply unhappy, you're not just having a bad day. You know, if all your days match up as, then that's not okay. That's not sort of, oh, this is life. That's not. I do think, you know, we're meant to thrive, and you need to be proactive on that. So there's so many things you can do, and most of the things you can do or should do that are going to help you out of this, when you're at rock bottom, I'll take the pressure off. You don't feel like doing any of them. So if you're hearing this and you think, oh, I don't feel like doing that, that's the point. You really don't, and I get that. So I'm very physical, but in them times, you know, I didn't feel like doing any of that stuff. I felt like, you know, isolating myself more, which makes the problem worse. So in terms of if your exercise or something, if you're literally really down there, you're not doing anything or not being any, like you just don't feel like doing anything, very lethargic. If it's as simple as force yourself to literally take 1 or 2 steps outside the house and go for a 5-minute walk. Hopefully, like Forrest Gump, you'll keep going. But if you can just, something as small as going for a short walk in the morning, but the consistency, because like anything, you can do something regularly, the compound effect is huge, and that sounds very simple. And then for other people who may be doing all the right things, you think, yeah, I'm doing this, this, and this, and still feeling very empty. You know, there's lots of things in the book, but it may be, you know, you're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole in terms of you're living someone else's perfect life, just not yours. You're living the perfect life that your parents or your peers think, oh, you should be so happy, and you don't, because it's not what you want to do, or you're just deep down in your core, you're feeling this is not right for me, and there's nothing wrong with that. And you think, oh, you may have committed to doing, you know, a degree on something and gone down that route, or committed. You may have lots of responsibilities around you, but you're no help to anyone if you are deeply unhappy. And you know, so I think it's important if you want to help other people and you feel like you've got those responsibilities. There's many ways to live your life. So I would say, you know, it's better to be unsuccessful in something you love than being successful in something you hate or you really don't love. It's kind of like they're kind of your options. And I mean, think of that though. You're very successful in something you can't stand, which is one end of the continuum. So that's as good as it can get for you. That still doesn't sound very appealing to me.
Dude, I love that, man. Absolutely love exactly what you just said. So I'm curious, what is it as a keynote speaker, what is it that you speak on? Like what is your topic? What is it resilience, or is it, I mean, not the title, I'm assuming it's Awaken Your Alpha, but like what is it about? Like what are the topics that you speak on?
Cool. Yeah, so again, breaking down from, I mean, a TEDx talk is such a, you know, quite a short piece, but it can, again, a lot of times, if you're doing anything online, that sometimes the shorter it is, the more impactful it is. So my keynote is Awaken Your Alpha, and that's all about personal accountability and leadership. And sometimes people think, well, I'm not in a leadership role. You are. You just maybe not acknowledging it. Everyone is leading their life, or they should lead their life. And there's very few things I say like, oh, you should, because everyone's different. But that's the one thing that I think is kind of non-negotiable. If you really don't feel like you are the leader in your life, or you're leading your life, then there's an issue there, because you shouldn't be a passenger. You know, that's more of the things that are happening to you, and it's very hard until you take ownership and claim everything in your life, the good and the bad, that you can actually make some change. So I talk about, you know, I mean, if you want to break it down to other things that I sort of within that my talks are on, presence and confidence, and it's hugely linked to some of the things we're talking about. The momentum mindset. They're talking on the momentum mindset and action, which is again one of the pieces kind of the book and of Awaken Your Alpha. So, how to rise up and overcome adversity is obviously the core talk, and then from my sort of being in a best-selling book and now this recent book, not just the writing your own book, but around, if it's specific to certain groups, bestseller belief and around writing your own book, because anyone can write a book, but it's to a certain extent it's pointless if you write a book and even if it's a bestseller, if you do not believe you're worthy of a bestseller or you have bestseller belief. In terms of people think, I'll get a book, I'll put it out there, and someone's going to come and knight me, and life's going to be rosy. You're the same person, whether someone says, oh, you got a bestseller, oh, you didn't make a bestseller. That doesn't change the fundamentals of you. And so it's that foolish thing of attaching your self-worth to an outcome, which ultimately you're going to really struggle long term, because like this book, whether it sells 10 copies or 100,000 copies, that won't change my fundamentals. It doesn't mean I did a bad job in the book, or it doesn't mean the book wasn't very impactful to me and people who read it. Mm-hmm. It's an external outcome. So I think that in some ways that can, take pressure off you. Again, it links back to what I just said, on presence and confidence, having the confidence in your character and your fundamentals. So, you can't be torn down by other people's opinions. And then again, if we're talking about more sort of specific, more niche talks, podcasting to change your life and expand your reach, because obviously I've been podcasting for 4.5 years, which makes me a veteran, which I always think is hilarious. But, and then landing and delivering an impactful TED talk. Again, mainly because I'm very passionate about that side of things and people, finding the strength and the value in their own story. And I love storytelling as well. So it's all kind of in and around these kind of topics. And I think everyone has just been doing an interview earlier, and it's talking about just the power that comes from having clarity in what your message is and who you are and what you're not is really powerful, and it helps others understand it, but also it helps you, I think, simplify life. And I think the simpler you can make life, the better it is. I think there's a huge opportunity for overwhelm in today's life, and I think that more and more people are just overwhelmed. Because there's so many cool things you can do, and you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And I think, chasing other people's definition of success is a huge pitfall.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. So that's why I founded my brand, The Success Core, because I wanted to really define what success was, and it's what you define it as. That's what success is. It's whatever you define success is. So if I say, well, success is $1 million, then what, 99% of people in the world are going to be unsuccessful? Like, you are the one that defines success. You know what I mean? So, so what I've done just now is, for the listeners, inside the show notes, after the show, because it shows up on my end, but I don't know if it shows up on everybody else's. What I've done is I've pulled the TEDx talk link from YouTube and put it into the show notes so they can see your TEDx talk. Brilliant.
I'll tell you another way they can very nicely find it as well. If they did happen to stumble over to ayalpha.com/book, the TEDx talk is right at the front there, because kind of a hub, but also if you're thinking, what is this book about? In less than 18 minutes, you will know if this book is for you or not for you. And that's the power of a TEDx talk. It sums a lot up in 18 minutes, for example, or even less than that.
Yeah, 100%, man. I love TEDx talks. I love yours. So, definitely everybody needs to go and listen to that. So tell us exactly, what does it mean to awaken your alpha? What exactly does that mean?
Awesome. It comes off the back of the definition of alpha, and because I always think that's really important to clarify that, because I do think that's been misused, and a lot of, everyone I say it, speak it, ask or talk to, around the alpha, and it's got a real kind of, a lot of people have a negative view on just that word nowadays. And so men or anyone feel like they can't be alpha, but the alpha, the definition from the solar system is Alpha Centauri. That's the star that shines the brightest. From the animal kingdom, it's to achieve the highest rank. So awaken your alpha is to shine as bright as you can with your time here, and to achieve the highest rank in the core areas of your life, areas that you are important to you. And that's not to be judged by someone else. We talked about your own definition of success, by your personal satisfaction with what you're up to and what you're doing and where you have put your priorities. And also to shine as bright as you can is not to put others in your shadow, but to illuminate. So that, in a nutshell, is awaken your alpha. And then it's the pursuit and the choice of that kind of lifestyle in whatever form it takes for you.
Dude, I love that. Shine bright and be the best. Not your best, but the best. Be the best. Be the king. Whatever the leader of the pack. Whatever. Dude, amazing, man. That's awesome. So how do we know? Is there a way? Is there a step, process, whatever that you have created that allows us to know if we have indeed awakened our alpha?
Oh, well, I think, the important thing is kind of, I'm confident most of us, or the majority, have awakened their alpha at some point in their life. So really the process is all about, and I put this in the book, that no one can fail to benefit accessing and awakening their alpha more often and being able to get in that state, which is ultimately a state, on a more regular basis. And I do think no one's going to be, in this state 100% of the time, but that's the point. That would be perfection in some views. So the whole point is you're not chasing perfection, but you're pursuing, that would kind of be the benchmark, but acknowledging that, life is not perfect. Everyone has off days, and don't beat yourself up over that. So the more you can access that state, and I think state control is important. It's covered in the book by myself and others that I believe are, absolute legends in the field, because, if someone gets you on a bad day, should we say, or a day when you're not in the best state, you would claim maybe a day you're not, your alpha is not awakened, and they ask you certain questions that could affect your life on a big scale, or there's certain opportunities that could affect your life, like huge. It's that, the ripple effect. And these opportunities are there on a day when you are not in your best state, shall we say. Your response is likely going to be no, and you're probably not going to even see the opportunity because you're too frustrated. So, there's huge implications on that. And so I think in terms of, if you can think back to a time when you were feeling, like you could run for a wall, or whether it's from sport, or whether you gave a presentation at work, or whether you had a conversation with a client, or something where you was in the flow and you just felt unbeatable and it felt effortless, but you were performing at a very high level. That's what I'm talking about. And then imagine that time, so picture that particular time for you, and then just cut it down to it's literally like a 5-second YouTube clip, or even a 1 second, and then what were you doing in that specific time, and what kind of stance you have? How did you feel? Take it all in. And it's that there's a particular exercise goes through in the book, really to identify that, which I think is powerful, but then get into the same emotion and state and be able to access that. And I think it's important to play around with your state control, and there'll be certain things that trigger you in terms of a negative state, and certain things that trigger you in terms of a positive state. So I'm a big believer for certain tasks, for many tasks, music. As a teacher, you could play certain music when, kids are coming into a room, and do nothing else different. And some lessons you'd absolutely smash it, or other times have no music, and, the atmosphere, the vibe, the state is like a morgue in there. And so, there's many ways you can do it. So, it's not groundbreaking stuff, but it's like a lot of this stuff. I think everyone deep down knows what they should be doing or could be doing. They just don't. So I think the more you can access and apply, knowledge is not power. Applied and action knowledge is power. And that's kind of where I think I come in one of my strengths, because, I'm not a PhD scientist. There's many professors out there that, could dazzle you with their knowledge, but it's not about that. It's about happiness and fulfillment and actually what's happening in reality. So, and I've always thought that from obviously my teaching background, the most knowledgeable people were not the best teachers. It's very clear on that because, you know, in terms of speaking as well, if you're not the best messenger and not engaging, the kids are ruthless. They're going to let you know straight away. And the flip side, if you are the most knowledgeable person around, but your presence is not there and your actual engagement with the people in front of you, you're not even aware or even changing your approach based on the fact that they're looking at you like you are the most boring thing they've ever seen in their life, and you continue to go down the road you're going, then your focus is not on teaching them. Your focus is on going through the motions or just trying to display how clever you are by the big words you know.
Yeah, very, very true. So talk about your podcast, man. What's your podcast about? What kind of guests? I know I just heard an episode with Robert Greene, which was absolutely incredible. I like that. I like that a lot. So
Yeah,
that's the most recent episode anyway that I've listened to. But tell people about it and go from there.
Okay, cool. So the podcast was the origins of the book. I always knew it'd be a book. So it's 4.5 years old, 327 episodes. Out today, and inspirational people like you mentioned, Robert Greene there, author of 48 Laws of Power. He's one of the people I hold as the benchmark for writing books. Ultimately, I took a lot out of his interview in terms of just what a nice bloke he is, and also just his dedication to mastery and not being a part-time writer or not giving it a go, but dedicating to this is
right.
To excellence. And I think that sets a high bar. And when there's a big culture of write your book in 30 days or 3 months, he goes the other way, and he could do that, but he goes the other way, and he takes 4 or 5 years to do a book, and I would put money on it. He could do a book in 12 months and sell just as many, but that's not his motivation, and that's not the standard he holds himself to. So the podcast is, that's just one example. We've got the world's the first deaf player in the NBA, and I'm just going to pick some of the favourite interviews or interviews that are kind of top of mind because they're in the book or pieces of them. So we've got the first deaf player in the NBA. We've got Robert Greene's in there. We've got a gentleman, Tom Cronin, meditation expert from Australia. That he's all about the Stillness Project, and so there's some key things about dealing with stress and overwhelm. Because again, you can't just be the big culture again about this hustle culture and grind mode and the Gary Vaynerchuk kind of style, and there's a place for that.
Oh, yeah.
So there's also, again, this is my whole point. He lost me slightly. No, not lost me, because I still like what he does and his approach, and I like the way he's very clear of what he's all about, and he has no confusion. But for me personally, when I saw him speak and he said, I haven't had a Saturday off since I was 20, I was like, wow, I've got more respect for what you do now and your approach, but I also got 100% clarity. I do not want what you're doing in any shape or form, because instantly, to me, no Saturdays off mean huge amount of family time that is ultimately, that's everything you do is a sacrifice. It's like, what are you willing to sacrifice and not willing to sacrifice? So you need to ask yourself your own questions, and there's no right or wrong, but you just got to make the decisions for you. I think he wants to own the New York Jets, and so that may be the sacrifices of what he has to do to get to that level. The book has a variety of people in there. We've got, Emmy Award-winning film directors who were, chased out of Egypt through the Egyptian Revolution and now, storming it in Los Angeles and Hollywood. Literally their story sounds like a Hollywood movie, and I think there's been talk it may be very soon. But who knows? So I've really got that international feel in there. We got, again, someone who, it's not a common theme here, but this person was out of Uganda when Idi Amin back in the 70s chased all the Asians out of that country, gave them 90 days to get out or else type thing. And he moved to London, England even, and then he's gone on to build the first or the world's biggest African-based mobile phone giant, and then sold that for a huge amount. Not that that's what I'm talking about, but it's more the fact of blazing his own trail and being a pioneer in that. But also his story's not focused on that. His story's focused on, testing himself in terms of the amount of adversity he had to deal with that almost broke him in trying to do that, go up against, these huge companies. It was savage. And ultimately, he had these realizations of, why is he doing this? Like, he is stressed. He's achieving great things on paper. Like, you say, wow, this is impressive. But his life was very stressful. And also, a lot of dedication and missing potential, family time. And ultimately, you've only got one life. So he sold, he got out, and, he's doing a different thing, but he's a lot happier. So there's lots of things you think, be careful what you wish for, and there's lots of stories in there, and also people who, their tactics on, their best tactics, and also a formula. It's not just a collection of all these different stories. I know I've sort of switched onto the book here, but we talked about the podcast. So yeah, the book is really a summary and the best stuff with a framework. So if you haven't got the time to listen to 300 plus episodes, this book just cuts and simplifies straight to the impactful stuff.
Awesome. So how can we subscribe to the show? Tell us how to find it, how to subscribe.
Cool. Yeah, I try and keep things as simple as possible. So ayalpha.com/book. If you go there, it's all there. It's the kind of the hub, especially at the moment with the book launch tomorrow morning. Well, now for Australians, for example. So almost for England as well. And there's launch bonuses, and it's got all the information about the book, testimonials, and it really is a legacy project. So the book, that page in the book isn't going anywhere. It's going to be there for a long time. But the bonuses, if you hear this, and I'm all about act now if it makes sense to you, so do get across there and check it out.
Awesome. So as we start to close the show, I always ask about resources. Like, what are some of the resources you have? The podcast, you have your book. Do you have any online courses, or if somebody wants to dive deeper with you, what are some of the resources that you can give them?
Cool. So in terms of the podcast, completely free. The book, very, very, very inexpensive. Obviously, the regular kind of book and digital price is even cheaper. Then if you did want to go beyond that, which it's like anything, there's 31 actions in the book, action boxes to go through, and space is limited there, so you can get by very well with that. But if you want to dig a bit deeper and actually get more and more and go through this process and have me, step by step walk you through in more detail, where I've only been able to put, a paragraph of this is the exercise, but to go through and actually go through that with you in a 31 plus video course that's completely, self-paced. You can go through that with the book, and you get a digital copy of that anyway if you go down that route. Then that's the course that's going to be, or is launching at the same time of the book. If you go on that same page, you can go down to the bottom and just contact me there, and I can hook you up with that. Again, relatively expensive, because previously the only way to work with me was direct one-to-one, as it were, maybe some small group stuff, which is still available, but these are the other options as well. And even if someone wanted to work with me, I think it'd be wise to go through a few of, at least the book, for example, and then ongoing, you can work with me for 6 months as your one-to-one coach, or join my mastermind, where we have a group of no more than 10 that meet once a month to really be efficient with our time and raise, the whole point of this, raise all our games together. So that's a cool thing to be involved in. And in today's sort of world of masterminds that have 40, 50 people, and there's like 25 grand or 10 grand for the year, I think mine is very solid. And in the truest nature of a mastermind, it is 10 people, and we meet up live in person once a year, but the rest of the year is once a month meeting. Really just, again, get into the core of what is the point, what is the right. value in a mastermind that I talk about in the book, and stripping away all the rest so we can, have some serious results. Awesome,
man. Awesome. So I want to do a shameless plug Trent Quotes websites, everything, like, just for 30 seconds or so, talk about what is it that you do, what you help people with, and where they can find you online.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks for the opportunity, but I feel like if this episode has been any value to anyone, what I've been talking about the whole time is my core and how I help you. the book and how I work is, if you want to step up in your life with confidence and vision of being a conscious leader, and as I said before, I do believe everyone is a leader or should see themselves as a leader. All and everything I do really is an effective model and process that I go through to help you identify, isolate, and address the differences between who you are and who you want to be. And it's, I think alliance is strength, support is strength. And as I say, you've got a couple of different formats. Some people don't want or need, or it's not the best thing for them to have a coach speaking to them once a week. It's a hindrance in some cases. Some people, that is the most valuable thing that you can have them conversations with, no matter hell or high water. We got that consistency, so when life happens to you, you're still moving forward. And then other people don't want that, but then you've got the mastermind in terms of they don't need a coach, and that's where the difference between mastermind and coaching, there is a difference, and sometimes I think they get blurred, and you obviously you can take up both options. And then there's the self-paced course, and again, if you're like, well, I've got 2 pennies to rub together, then you've got the book or the digital book, which is $7 digital, something like that. So, $10, £7. So I feel in terms of fulfillment and strategy and putting it out there, I like to make things excuse-proof, and there was always a loophole without the book of, I can't afford X, Y, Z. If you can't afford a book, then listen to the podcast, 100% free.
Right, like if you can't afford a $7 book. You know what I found out, though? There's just people that just won't. They just won't.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to invest in anything. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to invest in anything.
Again, I'm not a big swearer, and I've got no problem with swearing. I just naturally don't do it. I think it's probably because of my teaching days. But I have some Australians in here, and it just reminded me of something he said, and I love this. And to full clarification, sometimes in life we do need a kick up the arse, and we need to be a little bit harsh on ourselves and stop, sugarcoating it. And other times, there's other people reading this book that need to take it easy. They're too hard on themselves. So take this with a pinch of salt. But he puts it in terms of, he said something about a book, actually. I'm just trying to find it. But, yeah. I'd like to get it exactly. Okay. And I will edit out the F-bombs, because I know this is radio as well. But he puts it as this. When people say, and again, imagine an Australian accent, it's not that far off my own. When people say they can't afford to know, to understand what they need to do, buy an effing book. It's not you can't afford to do it, you're just effing lazy. So awaken your alpha, get F off your bed, and you have a passion, you have something you can give back, and you're holding it to yourself. So you're sabotaging the rest of the universe. You can change more lives than just yourself. Try to help 5 people a week, because if you're not helping people, you're a bit of a dick. That's the truth. He goes on.
That's awesome.
My point is, I think it's essential to get different viewpoints in there. And yeah, he's a little bit blunter than me, but I think most Australians are. No offense to Australians, but I love that.
Yeah, sure.
I know there's some Australians that are softly spoken, and obviously that's not how I talk completely. As I say, but there's something in here. There's someone's approach in here, and there's someone's story that's going to really hit home for you, and that's my goal, because I understand if it was a book 100% of just me and my thoughts, and without these different viewpoints, it may strike a chord like myself and you, but then there's someone else who's like, it's okay. And then Travis Jones will come in and just blow your socks off. Or then Lance Allred, who is attitude from perseverance as the first deaf player in the NBA and making it at 26 years old when everyone had given up on him. That will strike home. Or someone from, literally from Africa and having to escape their country because it was literally kicking off, and how the challenges they've had. Or someone from, somewhere else in the world, or a different age, a different background, will say something or have an experience that you will relate to, and it may just help get some perspective on what you're doing and also how to get where you want to go.
Very cool, man. Dude, I want to thank you so much, man, for hanging out with us and showing us exactly how do we know that we have awakened our alpha. Before we close the show, I want you to leave us with one nugget. Just give us something that like give us a best nugget of knowledge that will motivate, transcend, and inspire us to take action.
Okay. This might not have been what you're thinking, but this is what popped to mind when you were saying this. So I'd like to leave you with this. You're not dead yet. So this exercise, and there are many versions of this, I think is a very powerful exercise, but like anything, it's not powerful unless you give it that attention. So this is going to happen to us all at one point, but through this exercise, if you can, and you could also link it to the premeditations of evils in terms of imagining the worst case scenarios. If done in the right way, that can be a very powerful tool. But imagine as of this day, this was your last day. So, but I don't mean, oh yeah, that sounds whatever. I mean, okay, you are dead. So you are dead. You're looking in on your funeral as you currently are. Not tomorrow, not thinking, I'm going to do all these things. You don't get a chance to cross off some bucket list right now as we're talking. The difference with this one, you can see everyone who is there. All your closest friends, family, colleagues, and even some surprise people from your past have shown up. At this funeral, they are all going to speak about you. What would they actually say as we sit and listen to this today? What would they say? Not your rosy past or your potential rosy future, your current life. What would they say? Be very honest with yourself, or it's not powerful. Okay, you're still looking in as they talk about you at the bar afterwards. What stories would they tell then? What legacy have you currently left? What would the impact have been if it was today? And like I say, think deeply about this. This is the current state of your legacy, your eulogy. And some of the stuff may be tough to hear if it's not well played, because that's what it's all about. It may make you smile. It may make you cry if you do this properly. Now, the important question to all of this, and what I want to finish with, what do you wish your eulogy would actually say? And that kind of thinking helped me in writing the book. I was wrestling with what to include, how to approach it. I was planning, thinking about, other potential things down the line. And then you only got to stop yourself. And, this could be the one book I ever write. And this could be the final piece of my legacy. I've got to be open to that. And I think it's arrogant and cocky to think otherwise. So if there's a massive difference between what they would actually say and what you wish they'd said, that to me is the clear marker to make them changes. And I hope it was painful, because then you're going to do something about it. If it wasn't, there's two good outcomes. Well, the good outcome is you're living a brilliant life, and that is awesome. And that's what we're all trying to do. Or the other thing is, it's not so good. You're maybe in denial, or you're skimming over it. But this is a personal thing. So you've got no one to impress, no one to prove to. This is a personal thing. So that's what I'd like to leave you with.
Love it. Dude, thank you, man. I got to tell you, as a fan and as a fellow podcaster, author, speaker, TEDx guy, man, just spending this time with you, because I know that you do incredible transformational work. I just want to really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being a guest on my show.
Wow. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, the pleasure is mine. It's, as I say, I just love speaking to like minds, and I think that's another key to fulfilled life, spending time with like minds and people who lift you up, not the other way around.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Any last words for the guests, or for the listeners? Any last words for the listeners?
I've left so many last words, but I would just say this. I'm not even going to say go get the book. I'm saying if you do, and that is your choice. And I love the fact that everything in life, predominantly, unless you're in a dictatorship in certain countries, is a choice. But even you can choose your attitude in that. But let's not get into that. If you choose to read the book, I want to know. I want to hear from you individually, regardless, but I genuinely want to know what was impactful for you. What did you do with anything what struck a chord with you? And also, I want the basic classic. I want a picture of you with your book, wherever you are in the world. I've started almost like a little photo challenge. I'm the only person entered at the moment, because I've taken a photo of my book in Toronto, Las Vegas, San Diego. I'm taking it to London with me next month. And, I'm competing with no one at the moment, because the book is not out yet. So as soon as you get your book, please take photos in the most random and creative places. And there's going to be some kind of competition around this and some kind of prize. I have no idea yet. But, I work out the details later. That's always what I do. So that's something I think would be awesome and a bit of fun. So please do let me know that you got one and what you found enjoyable, impact. And as I say, some of the stuff, some stuff, probably the most impactful stuff will probably be some of the most hardest and painful stuff to do.
Sure. Absolutely, man. Dude, I want to thank you for your time, and you rock, man. You're a rock star.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Life Transformation Radio listeners, another amazing guest, another life changed. If you found any value from this episode, if you found anything that has resonated with you or someone else that you know needs to listen to this episode, you can go to iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn, Player FM, or the Google Play Music app and subscribe down this show. This episode, you can subscribe, rate, and review the show on all those platforms. Please find Awaken Your Alpha podcast, Adam Lewis Walker's podcast, Awaken Your Alpha, and please do the same. Please subscribe to his show on all of the podcatchers, rate and review it, and let the world know how amazing this guy is. So as we close the show, I always say, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call this living your brand. So until next episode, have a great life.
Skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just $49 at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera. I'm switching.
That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only $49. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just $49 at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera. I'm switching.
That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only $49. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.